tales for dark nights.
The following performance is a third-round entry in the 2016 Evil Idol voice acting competition, and you, the listener, get to help decide who wins. If you'd like to hear more of this contestant, voting for them is simple and only takes a moment. Just click the thumbs up icon. Can't stand them? Then click the thumbs down icon instead, and cast them into the digital netherrealm from whence they came. You decide their fate. Good luck to all of our contestants.
A brief meeting with a member of the Fallen. Written by Mswanco. Narrated by Carson Childers for Chilling Tales for Dark Nights and the Evil Idol competition. Hermano stood stark naked before the mighty demon Shax. Shax was stark naked too. Or should I say, stork naked, as the Marquis of Hell took the form of an enormous nude man with a pendulous cock and the neck and head of a grotesque stork. A sickly veil of steam effervesced from the Hellion shoulders and back. It was plenty hot in Hermano's room of summoning, but the Grand Warlock imagined that it was much hotter in Hell. The bird-headed demon undulated slightly in his circle of summoning, as if he were disoriented or drunk. The pupils in his eyes dilated wildly as they adjusted to earthly light. His neck craned deliberately as if his head were an unnatural weight, and he surveyed the room around him. Hermano had called for the demon in a dark, dungeonous place. The walls were of ancient stone. Shax had knowledge of all stones and earthly materials. A chandelier outfitted with 4 waxy candles adorned the ceiling. Wisps of dim light sent dramatic shadows dancing across the floor. There was no other source of light, save for the summoner's torch, a phallic black candle encased in a bronze lantern. In the corners of the windowless room, Shax recognized Hermano's tribute. 4 miserable piles of flesh and blood and bone and fat rotted and stained the ancient stone. Despite the beak, a smile curled at the end of Shax's mouth. 4 victims of gluttony, the demon croaked with a voice like steel wool against a black cauldron. Why have you called for me, child? Child. The word repeated in Hermano the sorcerer's mind. The older demons always referred to him as a child, perhaps because old habits were hard to break. Great Shax, the summoner declared as he opened his arms into an exaggerated wingspan. It is of grave importance that I ask you to address me with only the truth. Shax snorted a gravelly chuckle. Child, I am Shax, Marquis of Hell. 30 hellish legions await my command below in the darkness. My song starts wars. My wings bring thunder and blood. My sword pierces the hearts of wicked men. I only speak truth. Hermano met this statement with a pointed, sarcastic look. Really? Really, Shax? Come on. I'm sorry. The Hellion's birdish head tilted robotically. I own scrolls that say you are a demon of lies and deception. Humanity has known you've been a liar since the 1400s at least. I am not dumb, Great Shax. Is my tribute not enough to get some honesty from you? Your tribute is adequate. Shax's face dropped as if he'd been hurt by the necromancer's words. Dost thou not believe that in 600 years a demon like me could change? Change? You're an aspect of reality. A concept personified, not my ex-fucking girlfriend. The Fallen don't change. They're notoriously reliable. Now please, Great Shax, no games. The demon's face of hurt and remorse quickly transformed to one of petulance. Humans these days, he spat. So confident, so absent of fear. Your mortal brain cannot fathom the fears I could cast upon thee. Your primitive brain couldn't mathematically comprehend the horrors that happen down below. One day you'll see. One day it will become painfully obvious. He walked a small, aggravated path in his circle of confinement. Fine, human. No tricks. Your tribute is sufficient. What do you ask of me? Hermano smiled. He reached behind his ear and revealed a small tin cylinder. He nervously rolled the tube between his fingers before unscrewing a tiny top and shaking the tube against his palm. After a moment of frustration, a miniature roll of paper popped from its container. Hermano tossed the tube to the floor where it pinged against the mossy stone and rolled to meet the severed bloated finger of a human sacrifice. Great Shax, I understand you are a creature of theft and deception. I require both. You see, many moons ago, my wife left me and took our child. She was unhappy. Something about my obsession with speaking to the dead. I'm not sure of the specifics. I was too busy trying to speak to the dead, you see. Hermano laughed nervously and twiddled his tiny scroll between his thumb and forefinger. I am aware that I will never get my fair Victoria back. But my son, Hermano Jr., I must see him again. He must be mine. Without him, I cannot pass on the dark arts. That, and I love my son. The man, vulnerable and shaking at the thought of his boy, tossed the roll of paper past the magic barrier into Shax's circle of summoning. The demon grabbed the scrap and unrolled it. To the Hellian's surprise, the scroll did not contain a spell or declaration, but a simple black and white photograph of a boy, maybe 10 or 11 years old. He resembled his father, though much thinner. Shax tossed the photo to the floor. It burst into a green flame as it touched the enchanted floor of Shax's circle. I am not a recoverer of lost possessions, child, Shax declared impatiently. But I can refer you to a demon or two who— The boy is not mine to recover, Hermano exclaimed. Not since the courts awarded him to my estranged wife. He is not mine to possess, so he must be stolen, and Victoria must be deceived. And you require the forces of hell to kidnap your boy? 'Twas my understanding that mortals have been stealing from one another without the aid of divinity for millennia. Yes, but my wife must not know Hermano Jr. is gone. I still love her, you see. I could not bear to hurt her. Shax scoffed. Humans, full of unnecessary complications. Love is what got us into our mess. I would advise you abandon such an emotion before it imprisons you as well. I am damned whether I love my wife and child or not, Great Shax. I know Victoria will never be mine again, but I want her to be happy, and I want my boy back. And how do you plan on achieving both? Shax the Deceiver. I propose you bring a demon of your many legions and award him the form of Hermano Jr. You shall swap the demon boy for the real boy, and he shall live on earth with my Victoria as her son until her death. Meanwhile, I will raise the real Hermano Jr. as the servant of darkness. The fallen angel let out a birdish laugh. Child, you are truly a wicked man. I admire such deception. Lucifer will covet your soul when the time comes, of course. So you'll do it? The man offered with an almost childlike titter. Shax took a step back in his circle and curled his gnarled hand upward into a fist and lifted his arm above his head as if he were pulling an anchor from the sea. Beside the demon, a great flame erupted from the ground and a horrible impish form birthed from the fire. As quickly as the flame appeared, it extinguished. The lesser demon blinked, much like Shax had at the earthly light. Ah, Puketh, Shax proclaimed, and the imp responded with a squeak. Welcome to creation, to Earth. You have been awarded a great honor. A life here as a human boy. What do you think? Puketh grunted much like an excited pug and embraced Shax's muscular thigh, his claws digging into the greater demon's crispy flesh. Now, Shax turned to Hermano, there is, of course, the matter of this troublesome circle. The task you've requested requires that Puketh and I be free upon the mortal plane. I will return to Pandemonium with my tribute once your son has been returned to you. Yes, absolutely, Hermano responded, and with a single swipe of his foot, rubbed away a portion of the chalk circle that imprisoned Shax and Puketh. The demons took a fevered step out of their prison, and Hermano felt a great quake in his heart. He knew he had committed an atrocity against his own kind, but he cared not. It was only the first atrocity of many for today. Your boy, Shax whispered and approached the shaking man. He extended a hulking arm and grabbed Hermano's privates. The summoner felt a vague discomfort in his intestines and a heat against his testicles. For a moment, Hermano felt fear in his mind that he'd only known in nightmares. After a minute, Shax removed his claw and approached the demon Pucus. A dull light flickered like a wicked candlelight in the Marquis's palm. He took that light and ran his horrible claw through Pucus' oily, thinning hair. In almost an instant, the imp's flesh melted away in a scene that could have made Hermano vomit. When the feeling subsided, the sorcerer looked and saw that the form of Pucus had been replaced by the form of a boy he had not seen in many years. "Do not look for too long," Shax explained, "or else your heart will love this imp instead of your real son. Instead, investigate the boy briefly for flaws. He must be perfect." Hermano looked quickly but earnestly at his faux son and nearly dropped to his knees and cried. It was his son, if only in appearance. The demon had gotten the appearance down exactly. "Yes," he let the word escape his throat. "That's my boy." Tears filled his eyes. "Not yet," chuckled Shax, and with a snap of his fingers, the demon had disappeared with his boyish facsimile. An awkward, quiet time began to pass in Hermano's dungeon, and he began to feel regret. He knew he would feel this way, and he'd come to terms with it long before he planned this summoning. He surveyed his room of atrocities. The 4 victims of gluttony buzzed and crumpled in each corner of the room. He had captured and butchered each of them from outside a gym on January 1st. They were undoubtedly attempting to exercise as a New Year's resolution. They were annoyingly heavy to carry, even after Hermano had to cut them into pieces. After 15 minutes, the summoner started to become nervous. Had he made a mistake? Had he loosed 2 great evils upon the world without any reward? He looked to his summoning circle, with great panic, making sure each symbol was drawn without error. He'd studied the demonic language for hours for this event. He summoned many a lesser demon in practice. What had he done wrong? In a flash of brilliant but horrible light, the Marquis of Hell, Shax, and a small human form appeared behind Hermano. The boy looked confused, but calm. He said nothing. "Junior?" Hermano squeaked beneath uncontrollable tears. "Papa?" the boy responded. The man rushed to embrace his son. He kissed his head and his face. He brought him close. "Dad, you're naked. Where are we?" Junior exclaimed with a nonchalance that disturbed the back of Hermano's brain. "You're right. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm just glad to see you." The father cried as he backed from his boy and instead grabbed his son's face with both hands to inspect him. The kid was older than Hermano remembered, but still looked more like his father than his mother. Shax now placed his hands behind his back and spoke in a professional and almost sympathetic tone to his summoner. "I have deceived the boy to the horrors of this room. He sees not your sacrifices. And I have taken the form of a calming spirit to him. I felt it a kindness. I knew your plans for him, but he is young, and seeing such horrors may disturb him against your cause." Hermano was shocked at the demon's incredulity. He looked, and for a moment, he didn't see a disgusting bird-headed man. Instead, he witnessed a vibrant, flaming creature with radiant silvery wings and a hovery crown of color that he could not describe. "And my wife is none the wiser?" the sorcerer asked the now beautiful fallen angel. "They call me the Great Deceiver, do they not?" Shax responded, and he was once again in his horrible storkly form. Thank you, God." He stopped before he uttered a name he would regret. "Just thank you. The tribute is yours." "What tribute?" asked Hermano Jr. The boy looked about the room, puzzled and anxious. "Dad, seriously, what's going on?" Shax ignored Junior. "Yes, the tribute. I shall collect this for now, but the tribute is incomplete. I will be back again." Before Hermano could inquire the demon's meaning, the dungeon's candlelight had swiftly been extinguished, and the room was now one of total darkness. The pungent smell of decaying flesh and fat had also vanished, leaving the odor of ancient mold and gravel. The summoner grabbed at his boy, and after locating him, reached blindly at the dungeon's door. The hallway outside was 15 or 20 degrees cooler than the room of summoning, and Hermano found he could breathe a lot easier when not in the presence of a Marquis of Hell. He grabbed the towel he had left for himself on the door's handle and wrapped it around his waist. "I'm sorry you had to see your old man like that, son. It was necessary." "It's okay, Dad, but where am I? And where's Mom? And who is that guy who brought me here?" Once again, the boy's general curiosity without fear left Hermano disturbed. He looked at his son with concern. "All in due time, my child," he responded after an uncomfortable pause. "I just want to look at you." Hermano took his son by the hand and led him upstairs from his basement. He sat him down in the kitchen and cooked him some eggs and toast for an early breakfast. He made idle conversation with Junior, and he couldn't help but feel a pit of awkwardness in his stomach. The boy didn't seem right, didn't seem conscious or fully cognitive. He noted that his son's responses were vacant and without boyish emotion. He ultimately decided that a man who murdered the overweight to summon demons was not a good judge to decide how normal a person should be. After breakfast, Hermano told his junior to go out into the living room and watch cartoons while he washed the dishes. The boy responded with compliance, but without joy. As he washed dry egg from his skillet, Hermano peered out the window and jumped when he saw a large black stork perched upon the thickest branch of the maple tree in his backyard. The bird stared back for a moment before turning and taking flight. The summoner, the necromancer, the father, finished his dishes and briefly retreated upstairs to dress in a clean pair of clothes. He joined his son in the living room and sat beside him on his couch. He extended an arm around the boy's shoulder and held him close. They watched cartoons all morning.
Thank you for listening. If you haven't already, don't forget to cast your vote for this contestant via either a thumbs up or thumbs down vote. By doing so, you'll help us determine who will become the next permanent member of our voice acting team. At the close of voting on September 23rd, based on your votes, the top 5 contestants will progress to the 4th and final round to take place live on October 31st at our annual Halloween live stream event, based entirely on your votes. Thank you for voting and for helping to spread the word. You're listening to Chilling Tales for Dark Nights. I'm Steve Taylor, host of Chilling Tales, the podcast, encouraging you to turn off the lights and turn on the dark.
Chilling Tales for Dark Nights.